Chapter 5. The Wrong Chest. The Queen Anne sailed for a few more days, but it couldn't find the Bermuda Triangle. The men were getting angry. Captain Scott heard more and more talk about the treasure, so he decided to call the men and speak to them.
I know that a lot of you want to see these islands. I want you to know that you will be handsomely paid for this long voyage. Wait a little longer, and you will be rewarded.
Blackbeard's ghost was walking behind the men as the captain talked. Smith, the man who stole some of Blackbeard's treasure, was standing in the front where Captain Scott could see him. He still had the jewels in his pocket, and Blackbeard knew this. Because no one could see him, he put his hand in Smith's pocket and threw the jewels on the deck in front of Smith. The others thought Smith dropped something, but when they saw the beautiful diamonds and the gold necklace, they looked at Smith to see what he would say.
Captain, I don't know how they got there. It was him that put them there.
He pointed at a man. He was the man who had helped him carry the chest aboard.
You're a liar!
They began to fight, and the other men joined in. Some of them wanted to stop the fight, but others tried to take the jewels from the deck. The captain quickly took the jewels before anyone else could. The men didn't stop fighting with each other until they heard the man in the crow's nest shout, "Ship!" They looked and saw the black flag above the sails of a ship coming towards them, but they didn't know it was Captain Pike. Captain Scott looked through his telescope, then called to the men.
Enemy ship approaching. Open the cannons. Prepare to fight.
The men were running to different parts of the ship when Captain Pike's ship fired a cannon. A loud boom was heard, but the cannonball missed and landed in the water, making a big splash next to the Queen Anne. Another cannon was fired. This one hit one of the Queen Anne's sails. The Queen Anne fired back, and the battle began. It was a fierce battle. The sails on both ships had holes in them and were on fire, and there was black smoke in the air. When the ships were close enough, the pirates used ropes to jump onto the Queen Anne. All the men were fighting with swords, so there was no one to watch the treasure. Captain Pike jumped on board the Queen Anne. He went below with two of his men where Blackbeard's treasure was. Captain Scott saw them below and followed with his sword in his hand. Captain Pike turned to fight him.
I know you've got that treasure, and I'm not leaving without it.
You will die before you touch a piece of what's behind that door.
Blackbeard was watching all of this. He followed Captain Pike downstairs, and when he had the chance, he hit him over the head with a piece of wood. Captain Pike was surprised. He didn't know what happened.
Quick, open that door, now!
Pike's men broke the door open, and Captain Pike opened both chests. He left the Queen's gold pieces and put his hands on the shining jewels of Blackbeard's treasure.
Look at these beauties. I've never seen such colors. Blue diamonds, pearls, red rubies.
Blackbeard closed the top down on Captain Pike's hands, and he screamed in pain.
Good God! Open it! Open it!
His men helped open the chest, but both Pike's hands were badly hurt.
Take that one with us. We'll come back for the other later.
Captain Pike was looking at his injured hands. His men were very surprised at what happened, so they picked up the wrong chest. It was the chest with the Queen's gold in it. Blackbeard was smiling at Captain Pike, knowing that no one would get his gold. He didn't know himself that they were leaving his treasure behind, so he sat on the chest that the men took back to the pirate ship. Chapter 6. Rum Island. The Queen Anne was badly damaged, and many of its men were hurt. The captain was in his bed with a white bandage on his head. His first mate, Mr. Stewart, came to see him.
Captain, the men have found the door to the treasure broken open. It seems Pike and his men took the Queen's gold, but left behind the treasure we found on that ship.
How is the ship? And the men?
Many men are hurt, sir. Our sails are badly damaged. We are now sailing to an island we've seen about 2 miles away.
Mr. Stewart, have someone watch that treasure. It's all we have left.
The Queen Anne moved very slowly with all of its sails pulled down. The men were sitting or standing quietly along the deck as the ship anchored, a half-mile from the beach. They were tired and hurt from the fight with the pirates. The sun was shining and the island looked beautiful, but the men were not interested. The captain came up on deck and began ordering the men.
Lower the boats! I'm going to the island to see if we can get something to fix these sails. I want to take that treasure with us. We don't know what we'll have to give them.
The island had a long beach of white sand with tall green coconut trees on it. They pulled their boats up onto the sand. As they were deciding which way to go, they saw a native boy jump from a tree and run away. The captain spoke first.
Let's follow him. He may lead us to his people.
The boy led the men through the green hills of the island. He stayed far ahead of them, but stopped whenever he wanted them to see him and follow. There were tall green plants on the hills, and the air smelled of vanilla.
What's that smell? It smells like rum.
It is, and these are the sugar plants they use to make it. They break the plants apart and mix the rum in large barrels. It smells as if they're making sweets.
It'll be nice if we get to taste it.
The men laughed as they walked on. When they came to the top of a hill looking down onto a village, they saw natives working near small houses made from trees and leaves. The small boy they were following ran into the village before them, and everyone began looking up at Captain Scott and his men. They stopped what they were doing and waited for the sailors. A tall, dark, and very beautiful woman in a white headdress was standing in front of the natives, waiting for Captain Scott. She had large, dark eyes, and she wore a gold necklace with a green stone, just like the one in the picture on Blackbeard's ship. Her name was Queen Aliana, and she was the Queen of Rum Island. The sailors put Blackbeard's treasure down behind Captain Scott when he went to meet the Queen.
I am Captain Scott of the Queen Anne from England. We've come here to trade our gold for anything you may have to offer, but we also have a problem. Our ship is badly damaged. We need to fix our sails.
Welcome, Captain. I am Queen Aliana, and this is Rum Island. Come and sit with us and show us what you have brought.
The sailors sat in a circle around the treasure chest. Captain Scott sat next to Queen Aliana, and all the men were offered a cup of the island's rum. When Captain Scott opened the chest and showed the Queen the shining treasure of jewels and gold, her eyes widened and she stood up.
Where did you get that?
It's not really ours. It's something we found on an empty ship at sea. Our gold...
Take it away. We do not want it here. It is cursed. The man who owns it must have it back. You must take it back to where you found it.
The Queen waved her hand. All of the natives left and went inside their houses. leaving Captain Scott and his men alone. Chapter 7. Queen Hanzani's Story. Captain Scott did not understand what Queen Aliana was saying. He asked Mr. Stewart,
"What do you think the Queen meant by saying the treasure was cursed?"
Sir, these islanders have a lot of strange beliefs. I think we should listen to what they say and leave the island.
But we can't leave without new sails. Surely they can help us there.
What do you suggest we do?
I'm going to have a talk with her. You go and look after the men.
The captain knocked on Queen Aliana's door, then opened it. The Queen was sitting in a large chair with her eyes closed. She opened them when the captain spoke.
Excuse me, Queen Aliana, but I would like to talk to you.
She did not say anything.
I don't know why that treasure made you so angry, but our ship...
The Queen raised her hand to stop the captain from talking. She stood up and walked to one of the walls of the room. She took a picture from it. It was a picture of the same woman in Blackbeard's cabin. Without her headpiece on, Queen Aliana looked exactly like her. She gave the picture to Captain Scott to look at.
It's a beautiful picture of you.
It's not me, Captain. It's my great-grandmother, Queen Hanzani. She was once the queen of this island, and of all the islands in the Bermuda Triangle. She was a great and kind woman, but she died, sadly, at a young age from a broken heart.
Was her husband killed by one of your enemies?
We had no enemies at that time, except for the pirates who came to steal from us. The man she loved and married left these islands and changed into an evil person.
Does this have something to do with you not wanting the treasure we showed you?
Captain, sit down, and I will tell you a story.
The captain sat in a chair opposite the Queen. Her large, soft eyes made him feel very relaxed. He sat back in his chair and listened to her story. He saw everything as if it was all happening right there in front of him.
When my great-grandmother was 16, she and a boy her age promised to love each other forever. So they married, and some time later, that boy left the island. He said he was going to sail around the world and bring back all of the things which would make their life together perfect and happy. While he was gone, pirates attacked the island. They killed Queen Hanzani's parents and stole everything they had. Many people died because they had no food. Queen Hanzani found a way to make rum from the sugar plants so they could trade it with others for food. She made the island strong, and soon all of the people from all of the islands in this triangle began working together so that the pirates would never do such a thing again. Everyone knew the Queen did this so her true love would have a home to return to. Each morning, she would walk along the beach to see if his ship was coming, and each morning she returned a little bit more sad. When he finally returned, it was awful. He returned as a pirate with a chest full of stolen treasure. He wanted to give it to Queen Hanzani and take her away from the island to live with other rich kings and queens. She was furious. Pirates killed my parents, and now you want me to touch stolen treasure.
But I did this for you, to make you happy.
Throw it into the ocean and live as we do, and I will be happy.
Throw it into the ocean? After all the years I spent getting this, I was almost killed many times.
If this treasure means more to you than I do, you keep your treasure." The queen left him, and in anger he sailed from the island. There was a terrible storm. We call it the storm with the large face. The clouds were so large that they looked like the face of a man blowing onto the sea. The pirate ship was destroyed, and now a ghost ship travels these waters with Blackbeard's ghost on it, watching the treasure he thought more important than love. My great-grandmother died in her sleep that same night. I wear this necklace to remember her. The pirate's ghost and his treasure are there to remind him, and anyone else who tries to take what is not theirs, that they will never be happy. You have that treasure, Captain, and you must take it from this island and put it back on that empty ship. Otherwise, you will never leave the Bermuda Triangle alive.